Aeons ago, the cruel prince of 1,000 blossoms was imprisoned for his crimes against creation. His great power, which even the creators had learned to fear, fell into legend. The gatekeepers of Adalis, desperate to find a new weapon and defeat their undead foes, set him free. Now, free from his bonds, the prince refused to defend the Empire, calling it a vulgar affront to the design his father had intended. Corrupted by the prince, the gatekeepers betrayed their emperor, and the Great War was lost. Now, 7 years after the fall, this thriving utopia rots like a rancid corpse. The few who yet tend the tiny flicker of hope cling to whatever remains of their desolated home. These are their stories.
So describe what your character looks like for me, and like what this is.
Thanks for the sub, buddy.
This is like maybe a couple of months before the whole group gets together, and you haven't met Emery yet.
Okay.
So you're still like on your own. You haven't bumped into any of the rest of the party.
Then,
so who are you, and what do you do right now? What do you look like?
Okay, Oberon right now is probably in a tavern, in a town called Rotherham. And he is 3 sheets to the wind, keeping himself to self in the corner. He has allowed his hair to grow long. He has a very unkempt beard. He probably hasn't bathed in weeks. He has a suit of plate mail, but he isn't wearing it right now. It's up in his room. He's wearing pretty much just a gambeson, which has got moth holes in it, because he's never bothered to repair it, and it's been worn way too long. His longsword and his shield are also up in his room. He has a walking stick, aka quarterstaff, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
He's probably actually at the bar,
Okay.
because he doesn't want the possibility of somebody else coming and sitting at a table with him. So he's found the corner of the bar. So he knows to the left of him there's only a wall that could interrupt him. And he's got his quarterstaff kind of leant out at an angle so that the stool next to him has actually got the quarterstaff laying on it, so nobody can actually come and interrupt him.
Right, so you have gone out of your way to make certain that you could be drunk and left alone, which means that I would not be a DM with any self-respect if I let you do that.
Yeah, of course.
So this tavern, let's you said it was Rotherham?
Rotherham.
Rotherham. All right. So let's call this tavern the Bloody Lamb, because I feel like being super goth today.
Okay.
And the Bloody Lamb is known for the person who runs the place is also the town's butcher. Has been since before the collapse. It has taken on a much more sinister sounding tone when you describe the name of the tavern to people. And then you realize they're not locals, especially in the wake of the collapse. But it's because it has that new sinister overtone to just the name and the presence and the way the world is now. There's less traffic than there should be. It's not the bustling place you would want a tavern like this to be. The food isn't as good as it once was because the butcher doesn't have access to the fresh livestock that he used to.
The bloody beetroot now.
And there are fewer staff. The staff that are here are more grizzled and less exuberantly helpful. And the entire place it's slowly falling to shambles. Much like the old man at the bar sitting next to his quarterstaff 3 sheets to the wind. So what are you drinking, Oberon?
He is literally looking at the bottom of his wooden mug right now. And it... Barkeep!
Yep.
Another one of whatever these are. These watered-down ales that you're presenting the clientele with.
Yup. And he will reach behind the bar, and he will grab ale, pour most of your mug full of ale, and then shamelessly just splash a bit of water into it.
I don't even notice, or even if I do notice, I don't care.
Right.
You see him kind of put his finger in the top of the mug and stir it around to get rid of the froth, and then pulls his kind of beard down, and still manages to spill most of it down his chin.
I'll just like look at your new beard fall, your beer fall beard, right, with the drips, and he'll just kind of big bald guy, huge broad shoulders, wider than he is tall almost, and he'll just kind of look you up and down. Yep. And then he'll just go back to like pretending to dust down the counter on the other end of the bar, because it's clear that if you wanted to be around people, you would have put effort into not smelling like this. And this is how a lot of nights have gone for you lately, actually. This is what you tend to be doing when there's not actual things to be done, right?
Yeah, he's generally speaking, when there's no reason to talk to anybody, he's staring into his mug, his mind wanders off to all the terrible things that he has been responsible for, even though his intentions were good, he knew why he did what he did, but he can't live with the results, basically.
So you did actually participate in the summoning of the Prince of 1,000.
Sure,
awesome.
Yeah, and he was, at that time, he was very, very green.
Yep.
The way it goes with the, if you join the Gatekeepers of Adalis, you start out your first year is you're little more than a page boy or an existing knight. The second year, you go into the clergy, and you learn about all the doctrines and all the necessary nuances that go into being a follower of the God of Death. And then your third year, you go back out onto the open road, administer last rites, make sure things get properly buried, and do battle with any kind of unholy abomination.
So we'll say that your involvement was you were summoning adjacent. You weren't actually part of the group that actually did the summoning or supplied into sacrifices, but you were part of the wheels and the cogs that allowed it to happen. And you were eager to do so because at the time it was the only way to stop the undead apocalypse that was going to happen.
Right.
And ever since that day, you've kind of been like trying to avoid having to face what's happened, because you clearly weren't okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, our order got its ass handed to it because we participated in summoning something that was supposed to save the kingdom, and it ended up being the destroyer of the kingdom.
It was definitely powerful enough to have stopped the war, and it did, just not the way you wanted it to.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So you are. Let me see your best drunk impression. I want to see this.
I'm drunk all the time. You can't tell this is it. No. All right, so yeah, he is sitting there.
And behind you, you'll hear like the thumping of the doors, kind of like somebody coming in, right? The gust of cold wind coming into the, like blowing your hair in front of you and getting it in your mug for a second.
Okay, he kind of pulls the mug away and pats his hair down. Feeling the cold chill, he's just kind of like pulls his moth-eaten cloak up and around his shoulders and round his chest.
What was your uncle's name?
My uncle's name was... Okay, I refer to him as Uncle Amberson.
Okay. Okay.
What did we get him? What have we done?
Amberson, right?
Amberson, yeah. Uncle Amberson.
Okay. Okay. I can do this. So there's that gust of wind. Somebody has come in, right?
Okay.
And you don't give a shit.
No, it was just cold. That's the only thing that matters to me.
And then you'll hear a voice raised, a grunt, and then like a protest from somebody else. Somebody's stumbling around drunk, bumping into tables and stuff. And If you were a little less sloshed out of your mind, you might have put together that it was kind of careening in your direction before it got there. But despite all of your greatest efforts to be left alone, the stench of the whiskey on this guy's breath will be the first clue that you are about to be interrupted. And the second clue is when he like throws himself and leans on your shoulder from behind. And he says, Mr. Amberson. And that's why I was laughing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, without kind of looking up, I'll just say, I believe you are mistaken.
No, I don't make mistakes.
I'm going to kind of just lean sideways and put my hand to the top of his forehead to kind of keep him from leaning in too close.
Yep.
Does he feel incredibly wobbly?
Yes.
Then I'm going to shove. I'm going to give him a little bit of a harder push so that he careens backwards a few steps.
So he'll careen backwards a few steps and then fall flat on his back. Ow.
At that point, I'll get up, pick up the quarterstaff, walk over, look at him. Do I recognize this individual at all? Have I ever seen him before?
Never before in your life. If you had to guess, given your trade, you'd be able to tell this guy digs graves for a living.
Okay.
Or like he's got dirt under his nails. He's got the shovel calluses, right? He's got that pallor of death around him. After a while, you just recognize somebody who works in the industries of death.
Okay. Well, it's about now that my brain is caught up to the rest of what's going on, and I've just put two and two together that he said Amberson.
Yep.
So I'm going to offer him the other end of the quarterstaff to help him up.
See? I knew it. He grabs. He says,
And I'll pull him up onto his feet.
Only you. Only you could be that much of a jackass and then fix it.
Do you happen to know my late uncle? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I know you. Wait. Wait. Are you saying you are your uncle?
Last I checked, I was not in fact my uncle. Last I checked, I was his nephew.
Show me your teeth.
My teeth?
Your teeth!
And what would that prove?
I recognize teeth.
Well, I don't believe you've seen these chompers before.
And I'll just go, and grimace at him.
Oh no. Ugh. And like you grimace at him and he like pulls away and then he gets really close and he puts his eyeballs right in front of your mouth and goes, oh no, you're not. You look just...
He has, one of the weird things is that Oberon has a massive underbite. Like his bottom jaw sticks out way further than his top jaw.
That's why he tends to talk like this.
Yeah, you're definitely not your uncle, right?
But you're an acquaintance of my uncle, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, I quit, totally
I'm going to grab him by the shoulders and slam him down into the stool next to me.
When's the last time you saw him? Quickly now.
I was chasing him out. He stole my donkey.
Okay, ironically, I have a donkey.
Do you actually?
Mm-hmm. I have a mule anyway. Which is probably out there in the stable right now. There.
My uncle was never really to be taken as a thief.
You also said he was late. He was very punctual.
I haven't seen my uncle in many years. When did you last see him?
I saw him. It was. Where did I have my donkey? He says, I'm having a hard time remembering the details. Maybe if I was.
Barkeep! That ale that you watered down, bring me a mug of that. But don't put the ale in it, just the water.
So you said, barkeep? And he turns around and says, yup. You asked for the ale with just the water, and he goes, yup. Grab another mug, doesn't bother cleaning it, puts it down in front of the guy.
Make that 3.
Pulls out a couple more mugs.
Okay.
And then, not really knowing if you were serious about not putting any ale in it, he pours 3 ales.
I don't
splashes
care.
water in each of
So
them.
I take the first one and I hurl it straight in the man's face and say,
That's to wake you up.
then I'll hit him with the second one and say,
That's for the smell.
and then I'll hand him the first one and say,
Now drink this one.
Good reference.
This ale is so weak, it'll sober you up quicker than it'll get you drunk.
Okay. It was west in. What's the name of that? Westville. No. Yes. Westington.
Westville.
West-
Westington. I've not heard of these places before. Are you sure you're not clinically insane or just drunken out of your mind?
I am definitely drunken out of my mind, but it was west. It was a farming village. It's where I have my farm, which is why I had a donkey.
And how long ago did you say he stole this donkey from you?
It must have been like last month, maybe.
A month?
Something like, recent enough for me to still be mad about it.
How much did the donkey... How much of a donkey was it? What was its value? Was it worth much?
No, it was old, had a bum leg and a bad attitude, but it was more helpful than my damn wife was, so that's not much.
Well, seeing as it was a family member, I suppose the debt somehow belongs to me.
and I'll reach into my money purse and pull out 5 gold pieces and slap it on the counter next to him.
Consider yourself reimbursed for the loss of your donkey.
Pay for my donkey?
He'll take the money and look at it.
Wow.
What's the matter? Is that not enough?
No.
Or are you going to try to extort me for more?
No. I just wasn't expecting... Do you know where I can buy a donkey?
Barkeep!
Yup.
Is there a man in town that, might be involved in the selling or purchasing of livestock? In particular, donkeys or mules?
Yup.
There, talk to that man. I'm not from here, I know little of this town.
Well, thank you, Mr. Amberson.
But,
Oberon.
Oberon, my uncle was Amberson. One more question,
Sure.
He's like trying to make certain that you don't see the gold so you don't reconsider this. Like,
Did my uncle spend any great amount of time with you? Did he say anything to you at all? Where he had been?
I complained that he didn't like my wife's cooking.
Well,
He was on his way west. West?
though it was west and he was going west, so he was going
was
away
going-
from here.
Yes. Now that I think about it, coming east looking for him was probably not my best idea.
No, if you knew he was heading west and you traveled east, you're clearly a simpleton, aren't you? Perhaps you need, a little more to drink.
I do.
Barkeep,
Yep.
From the reek on this man's breath, he is fond of whiskey.
Yep.
Give us 2 of those.
Yep.
And he'll pour 2 whiskeys and slide them across the bar.
All right, I'll slide him one and slam down the other one myself.
He slams back the whiskey.
He says, yeah, it was... Helen East said something about he had the anchor? And I asked if he was a sailor, and he said no.
The
And now-
anchor.
That made sense, because there's no ships west.
Does saying that mean anything to me? Knowing that my uncle was, I mean, my original plan was I was supposed to go into the service of my uncle. He was a gatekeeper, and then when he was supposed to come pick me up, he never showed up, and somebody else came instead and just said, "Nope, son, you're going to be trading with me because we have no idea what happened to your uncle."
We misplaced your uncle, so you're with us.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, everyone. We've lost a knight.
So an anchor is something that a spirit that has not moved on becomes attached to.
Okay, so I'm very familiar with what the concept of that is.
So it's either a person, a place.
Right.
It's the physical thing about the unfinished business that keeps a ghost around.
So once he says that, I'll give him enough time to swig his whiskey, and then the second I see his Adam's apple bob,
Yep.
I'll grab him by the shoulders and say,
What was the anchor to? Quickly now.
The ship. I asked that.
A ship. So we're talking about a proverbial not a proverbial anchor, but an actual anchor.
I don't know if there are any anchors in Proverbs. But I know he wasn't talking about a ship. Because
What
there
did
are
he
no
say,
ships.
man? Do you remember?
He said he had the anchor, and he had to go west.
We've established that he is heading west. This is becoming redundant information. But is there anything else that you can think to tell me? Anything at all?
He says, yeah, well,
Anything relevant?
your donkey now you pay for him sailing my donkey.
And he'll get distracted by that thought, and he'll put his hand on your shoulder and he'll shake you, be like, "You're a good man."
I say, well, seeing as it is my donkey, and you have 5 gold pieces, would you perhaps like to buy it from me?
Roll me diplomacy. Or
Alrighty,
bluff.
this guy
Diplomacy
is...
or bluff, your choice.
Oh, he is a natural-born diplomat. He's not good at bluffing because he really doesn't come across. He doesn't know how to hide himself very well. But he has he has a +8 diplomacy. So let's see. 22.
He says, I needed a donkey. My donkey got stolen.
Well, for 5 gold pieces, you can buy the one that belongs to me that I bought from you.
5 gold for a donkey. That's a pretty good deal.
Well,
Sure.
Yeah, and he'll put the
do we
5.
shake on it?
And he'll put the money down on the counter, and then he'll grab your hand with the wrong hand, so his hand is upside down in the shake.
Definitely a deal. Now the donkey.
I'll shake his hand and I'll put the 5 gold back in my pocket.
Now the donkey you're looking for is headed west, and it's got a bum leg, and the bum leg has a bad. I always feel awkward calling it a horseshoe, cause it's on a donkey.
I see. Well, I will be sure to catch up with it as quickly as I possibly can.
Yes.
Excellent. Do you have a place to stay for the night?
It's probably no.
Okay, feeling a slight bit of guilt that I just totally took advantage of this fool, I'm gonna pay for him to have a room for the night, so that at least he doesn't stagger out of here in the cold and die in the street somewhere.
Yup.
5 gold pieces.
That's an expensive goddamn room.
I'm not buying him. He doesn't get this. He doesn't get the penthouse suite with ensuite prostitutes. That's not happening. He gets common room lodgings at best.
So he will gladly so you pay for the room, right?
Yeah.
And then the drunkard will turn, having given you the clues of your uncle,
Yep.
headed west, has an anchor, and has a donkey with a bad horseshoe.
Right.
A donkey shoe? We're still not certain. He will turn to the barkeep, and he says, "Hey." Yup.
Mr. Not Oberon, Amber's him,
And he points.
bought me a room for the night.
Yup.
I'm gonna go, and it's my room, and you can't throw me out because he bought it for me.
Yup.
All right.
And then he will stand up too quickly and almost fall over.
You? Yeah.
And he'll give you a thumbs up, and he will stumble off.
I just quietly shake my head, and then realizing that there's actually lots of empty beer mugs, but no beer. Barkeep,
Yup.
Fill it up. All the way to the top.
Yep.
Full freaking circle.
And we will then leave Oberon with his clue about his family, his drunken drinking, and the bartender, and the particularly monolingual bartender. That was not at all what I had planned, but that was better than what I had planned.
Yep.
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 All right, who's next? What is the name of the city you grew up in?
I hadn't come up with one. I figured we'd world build that together.
Well, that's what we're doing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, except you just asked me what it was.
And by us,
Oh.
I mean you.
Okay. Question. Can they have renamed it after my younger brother at this point?
Oh, sure, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Okay, so Rodolfo. There we
Okay,
go.
Rodolphia, you hear that Rodolphia was hit particularly hard by the shattering.
Okay.
The markets that everybody supported themselves through kind of fell apart when the roads were no longer safe, with the Empire no longer around to enforce, to protect travel routes and so on from bandits, witches, covens, monsters, evil kind of just took over everything, and it was no longer profitable to send caravans out carrying goods. And so people like your father, for instance, who sold goods on the market, aren't doing so well because it's just the economy's not what it was, obviously. And because Rodolphia was so set in being, there was a lot of marketry going on in that area.
Okay.
It's fallen into a much deeper state of decay. People are starving to death. There's a lot more disease, and that rumors of that start to reach you as you're traveling, and then you start to hear word about the Candlemaker and his family.
Oh.
And how they.
Excuse me, I have to
The Candlemaker and the Candlemaker's family are doing less hot than anyone else in Rodolphia, which is saying something. His family had started to leave him before everything had gone down, and without the help of the family members, or so the rumor mill says, he's died of a broken heart.
Oh.
So our scene here will open up with you approaching Rodolphia,
okay,
knowing full well that if there's anybody who is qualified to, say, give last rites for your father, and it's not Rudolph, it's you.
Yeah.
And as you're approaching, you'll see that, you're kind of like walking out. Do you have like a beast of burden, a pet, a horse?
I don't actually.
Okay, so you're just kind of straight hoofing it yourself down the road.
You check your credit line for when you're trying to purchase a new horse, and they look at your name and they're like, "Oh,
it's you."
Yeah.
So as you're approaching Rodolphia on the horizon against the bland and lifeless sky, you can see pillars of smoke, and you can start to make out a really ruinous and collapsed cityscape against the horizon. And as you approach and you finally come with an earshot of what used to be the city walls, they've been burned, crushed, crumbled. It looks like something really big and really strong might have like slammed into it. Maybe a demon or some other monstrosity that felt safe to assault a civilization in the wake of the fall of the Empire. But there's no signs of active struggle. This happened a long time ago, and you have missed quite a lot of your hometown's less than fortunate experience. And you're stopped at the front gate by a gruff-looking guard that hasn't shaved in long enough for you to realize that it's just that he hasn't shaved. You can smell him before you can really make eye contact with him, and he's got a scarred and almost broken, tattered helmet. He's clearly wearing armor that doesn't fit him, that he probably picked up from somebody else. You're guessing the bloodstains on it aren't his. He's got a spear and a shield that has kind of like got the new crest of Rodolphia kind of like jaggedly carved into it with a knife. And he just holds up his spear and says, "Stop!"
That's one way to welcome someone home.
Who the hell are you?
It's son of the candle maker. I'm here on kind of rumor.
Son of who?
Emery Deneau. The Deneau family.
You're one of them.
Yeah.
Which one of you's the useful one?
The other one.
You bringing anything useful with you?
Well, I'm here with rights, for a burial, I suppose. Unless I've missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, well, as long as you're not just being another useless mouth to feed. And he kind of like jerks his shield to indicate that you should walk past him. Stay out of trouble.
I'll try. I'm gonna walk by.
You get the idea that he's kind of saying that more as it's like that's what he says to everybody that comes in, because nobody can stay out of trouble. Not anymore. Trouble follows and hones in on people, and you get in trouble just for existing, and that's before you get into trouble for being you. Especially since Rodolphia was, as we mentioned, a place where the gatekeepers of Adonis were really strong before everything went down, which means that you are trying to go unnoticed as long as possible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take you long to find what's left of the streets that you grew up on, the neighborhood where your folks were, and as you come up on the old house, it's actually probably one of the better kept buildings that you've come across. Your father is actually out front doing some kind of laborious yard work. Like he's picking up rubble and tossing it aside or whatever. So it would appear that the rumors that you had heard weren't strictly accurate. Unless he's undead, but it doesn't look that way.
Okay. I'll approach Dad.
Turns around. Huh? What?
Dad. No. It's me, Emery.
Emery? You're alive?
Yeah.
And he will like...
Can say the same to you, huh?
And he'll hold out his hands. He says, "Well, come on then."
Diving in. Bring it here. Bring it
here. I'll give you a big hug with a lot of slapping of the back and way too much burly effort for your frail little frame to take.
Yep.
He says, "That's great. I hadn't heard hide nor tail of you since yeah. Your mother's inside. You might want to let her know that we thought, you know, just let her know you're alive. That'd be, and here." And he like hands you up like a it's a canvas wrapped with something heavy in it, something entirely too heavy for you, naturally. So it probably weighs like 17 times what you do.
Okay.
Roll me strength.
Not terribly weak. I'm just not comfortably strong.
Nice roll, man.
On a 19,
Hey.
it would
Yeah,
appear to
which
be,
is a net. That was a net.
That's a 20, dude. That's a 20.
First roll of the campaign. Oh yeah, give me the trophy now.
Oh, it's going to be one of these, isn't it? We're set
Okay.
with all the rolls.
Well, now I need to find. Well, it's been a while since I've run a game because I've been taking a hiatus for the holidays, and now I have to remember that when I ask for a roll, I need to be prepared to make a nat 20 matter. So, you'll kind of like, he'll put this really heavy package in your hands, and you'll kind of, and then he'll look like you hold it just fine, as if it's weightless. Why would this be considered too much? And then he'll kind of like look you up and down. He says, "I see the world's been treating you about the same as everybody else."
Yeah. It tends to do that. I'm glad to see you're okay. I'm going to start like showing signs of maybe this is starting to get heavy. I'm going to start walking in like.
Start like walking in before like you collapse. And like, ugh! All right. So you can, as you start coming inside, there's like the clanging of dishes and the boiling of water and the smells of what you're guessing is dishes that haven't been washed in forever. It's finally being washed. You know, like that special disgusting stank that can fill a whole kitchen when you forgot to wash the pan and everything got dried inside of it. And you're like, that kind of like smacks you right in the face as you're approaching. And as I forget, what was your father's name again? Wilfred. I'm terrible with names. And you wrote like 80 NPCs for your character, and I will never remember any of those names.
That's fine. Me neither.
So as you're walking in, you'll hear that familiar, irritated voice. "Wilfred! Is that you?"
No, he sent me in with this though. Here. And I'm just gonna hand it up to her.
So like you walk up, she's like, "Oh, it's probably just put it over there." She's like leaning over the sink and not really.
Okay.
Clearly has not processed
Yeah.
the voice, right?
That's fine. I'm gonna go heed her orders and do what she says. And then I'm going to say, and by the way, I'm alive, Mother. I'm alive.
Yeah, that's what they. What? And then she'll turn around and she'll just kind of like shocked.
It's been a minute.
And she's frozen for a moment, and then she like bursts from dead stone stillness into a frantic scramble a couple of feet to her right, and she'll grab a vial of what you recognize as holy water, and she rips the cork off and like flails it at you, so now you're just like splashed with it.
It's good to see you too. If you need me, I guess I'll be in my... Is it still my room?
Yeah.
Okay. If you need anything, just let me know. I'm just gonna go right up there.
Just gonna like go right up to your room and just like
Yeah.
leave your mother in her like shell-shocked state.
Yeah, she kind of deserves it.
You're wondering like, oh, now what you don't know is why your mother would just, casually be packing holy water in the kitchen.
I don't.
So as you head upstairs, and your bedroom was always directly across the hallway from your sister's. and the doors to both are open. And neither of these rooms has been touched in ages. The dust is still thick. It's exactly the way it was when you left. And more disconcertingly, so is your sister's. Now, your sister was one of the family members that you actually really got along with.
Yeah.
You liked her a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's obvious she hasn't been here for a while. That's really unlike her. She was the bleeding heart of the family. She was the kind soul who could never bear to watch someone suffer. She volunteered at the orphanage. She ran the soup kitchen. Trying to describe your sister to other people sounded like you were like regurgitating a bunch of cliches about how pure and kind and good someone could be. And she would have never left your father and your mother alone in their old age, especially in this world.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue to me. So basically I'm gonna walk up to my room, and as it's weighing on me, I'm going to kind of like stop and kind of peer over my shoulder and notice that the door's open and nothing's been moved for a long time, kind of matching mine, and it's just curiosity kind of gets the better of me. I'm gonna actually walk in there and kind of take a look around, make sure like I'm not just losing my mind.
Okay, roll me search.
Okay. There it is. There's my character sheet. Oh, it's different. I got used to the 5. There it is.
Yeah, search is a skill now. It's no longer just perception or
I missed-
investigation.
Wow.
What? Sorry, guys.
Wow. Okay.
23.
I don't see the roll. What?
Got a
Yeah,
23.
Yeah, it rolls to
I rose to the GM.
yeah, to GM.
Oh, okay.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got a 23
Yeah.
Oh.
on a +2. So that was a 19. That was almost a nat 20.
Oh my gosh.
Save your rolls, Sanj. Jeez.
No. This is now. I'm gonna die next episode.
Yes! He's gonna die as soon as he's actually with the rest of the party. He has to rely on Gorbed to save his life.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, so you head into the room and like it's not the way you remember it. So obviously she was here for a while after you left. And even before the collapse, you never it kept in touch with what was going on with your family, loosely speaking. Like, you and your brother would talk because he was in the order with you, and he was in touch with your father and your mother and your sister. And the last you heard, your sister was, I don't know, being knighted as a saint or whatever it is that good people do, right? Like, she was continuing to be herself, and her projects were growing, and her outreach was growing. And then the more you think about it, after the collapse, you didn't hear much about her. So when you step inside, you can immediately tell that everything... Your sister's very orderly. She's very neat. So it's easy for you to see when something is out of place.
Okay.
And it doesn't take you long to figure out that the reason these particular things are out of place is because somebody was in an absolute rush and a panic. They collected clothes. They opened the cabinet where your sister kept, like, her savings. Her family heirlooms. If you had to guess, you'd probably say that your sister, in an absolute rush, roughly 7 years ago, grabbed all of her most precious belongings and everything she thinks she might need to survive and just bolted without cleaning anything up.
Okay.
I don't know, roll that good. Let's say she had from your grandmother a gift, a necklace that she wore, that was made by your great-great-great-great-grandfather, on your mother's side. And she really loved your grandmother. Your grandmother passed away peacefully long before the collapse had happened, and she always kept that really close. But it somehow managed to be one of the only things that got left behind. Like she couldn't find it, or she couldn't complete her task of assembling her belongings before she left.
She kept it in a pretty safe place, so I imagine. You know, the little hidden panel thing was a little annoying to have to get out of the way.
Yep.
Not that I'm going through all of her drawers, but yeah, no, I'm gonna take that, and I mean, I'm not gonna put it on because that'd be just showing everybody, hey, I found this thing. Like, it's a little weird to explain to Mom. She already prized too much, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put that in a little hip bag, for reasons, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sit back down in my room and just kind of scroll through my old books, take a quick look at them, and see what I used to study.
Have you ever gone back and like reread any of the art tutorials that got you started in writing or in art, and looked at yourself and been like, why did I ever listen to these idiots?
Yeah,
it's like that.
How to draw manga books that you get from your aunt who sees you like drawing.
Yep, and then like nowadays you'll look at it and you're like, wow, the cover art on this how to draw manga book really looks like bad fan art is what it looks like.
Yeah,
it's like that where, you know, some of them you remember fondly kind of like getting in trouble because you were staying up too late reading, and others you look at and realize you had to unlearn a lot of what they taught you. But they're all there, which is saying something because, I mean, as much as you were afforded that solitude, you were never really doing anything productive. And in the same way that your mother was really against the idea of your father getting into art because art doesn't sell, reading doesn't pay bills either. So for her to not have decided, well, screw these, I'm getting rid of this, that says something that maybe is a little more heartwarming than you were expecting.
Yeah. Huh. Imagine that. What time did I show up in town?
Let's say that you got here in like late afternoon.
Yeah. So I'd probably just kind of sit down on the old bed. Hopefully it doesn't break. And, take a minute to kind of rest before heading back down.
Okay.
And when I do head back down, I'll probably head over to the kitchen and help my mom with all the way too many dishes.
So now that your mother has had the chance to recover and to yell at your father for not warning her that you were alive,
yeah,
and she's kind of like composed herself, she's a lot more welcoming and filled with a lot less splashing of holy water, and she gratefully, you know, she'll do the dishes with you, and she spends a little bit with the small talk. And you know she wants to ask a question, but she doesn't want to actually ask the question.
And I don't want to answer it, so I'll just let that happen.
And so there's a lot of like pauses and awkward silences. And then she tells you that it's probably best that you go wash up because it's almost dinner.
Okay. Is anyone else going to be joining us, or?
It's just me and your father nowadays. You know, Jimmy would have probably spent more time here, but he didn't make it through the initial wave of whatever it was after the collapse. And then there was Sally. You remember Sally, my old knitting partner. And the bandits got her a couple of years ago. So it's just me and your dad.
Sorry. I'll get some things ready then. And I'll just gonna set a few things on the table first before like going up. It's, they haven't hosted in a while, I'm assuming.
No, they haven't actually.
Yeah.
It really looks like something recently did just like upset all of the belongings and make a mess in the yard, and you're not certain what that was.
Okay.
And they don't seem too keen on describing it. As a matter of fact, picking up from whatever just made this mess seems to be like they're going about it like it's a regular everyday task. And they'll, your mother will prepare the meal and everybody will sit down, and they'll just look at you to say grace.
Right. For this provision which is unto us that could continue our lives in the mortal coil until our end, it suits us well.
And everybody will kind of like nod, and then your father will start eating. And finally, your mother will just kind of like blurt it out. You didn't know, did you?
About
the prince. You didn't have anything to do with that.
I had no idea.
This gives your mother visibly intense amounts of relief.
I would have done anything to stop it. Had I known it was happening.
Your father grunts. He says, nobody expects you to know everything, kid.
I do my damnedest. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and start eating as well.
They're both mostly quiet. And then your father will ask you, what was your sister's name again?
Isabel?
This is so did you ever see Isabel after everything happened?
No, I was actually hoping she'd be here.
No.
She didn't know it's with the rumors going around an odd thing to hope.
He says, you ask me, I think she got scared. She ran. We never saw her again.
Doesn't sound like her.
Doesn't. Makes me wonder what she saw. She just up and left. The orphanage. The kitchen. The house. And then your mother will kind of like step in to cut your father off. Is it Wallace or Wilfred?
Wilfred.
Now, Wilfred, you're getting all worked up. We don't know what happened. He says, no, we don't know everything about what happened. I know what happened, all right.
If it's any comfort, it's been a relief. I heard that you were dead, and I'm pointing right at my dad, and that you weren't faring well. So this is a bit of a relief from that. And if it means anything more, it sounds like you've heard the rumors of me. Glad I could set them straight. But I guess the lesson there is not to assume. She might have had good reason. Knowing her, of course she had good reason. She wouldn't have just... She had to be doing something. Yeah.
I want you to roll me... what is the name of the skill? It's been so many years.
Is it swim?
Is it swim? Yeah. Swim through this awkward conversation.
That's not his... He doesn't have any ranks in that. He has
Forgery.
like
Forge your...
Yeah, Diplomacy. Forge your destiny.
Forge your feelings.
Okay,
Roll me
forgery.
diplomacy.
Diplomacy. All right.
See if your words have any
I'm
impact on
actually
your father
okay
here.
at diplomacy here, so maybe. Well, this will be the first bad roll. Oh no, it's not.
No, it
what
really
the
isn't.
heck?
Your father will
Roll
like.
well again.
I haven't rolled under 19 yet.
What did you roll?
He rolled a total of 24 with a natural 19.
Yeah, there's an option to turn those on to not be DM rolls if you can
Yeah.
do those.
Slash.
Yeah, because
whisper
normally the DM is the one streaming it, so it wouldn't matter if that was happening.
Yeah, but unfortunately, no one sees your dice rolls if you send them to the DM.
So on a roll like that, like it's clear that your father has been harboring a lot of resentment over the way that your sister handled the apocalypse, let's call it. Your mother was worried that you might actually have had something to do with the summoning, which means that somebody was telling her that you might have. And that's not a surprise because of how strong the gatekeepers of Adonis were before the summoning happened. And if they're still, like, you need to find out if they're still here, because if they are, you might need to vacate as quickly as possible. Because they do not like you in the slightest.
Yeah.
But as you know, as you say, perhaps what we've learned here is not to assume your usually stubborn as a mule father will actually kind of. I know. What are you supposed to do when you don't have answers? It's Isabel.
I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm not saying I have the answer, but for me, it's I try and find out. Was there anything at all before she left?
No. The first crack of pink lightning hit and something spooked her. She was gone. I don't think it's likely she survived. It's not like the world is the kind of place that is forgiven for somebody who's too forgiven. But if you...
I'd quite like to be not the only dead child in the family. Not the only not dead, rather.
Well, if finding answers is how you handle this, then I need you to find me some answers because I can't go anywhere with my bum leg.
Yeah.
I know you probably got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
But if you can...
Trouble is a lot of... I can't be here too long.
He says,
While I'm here, I need to help.
He says, well, even if you've left, if you could find me word about my baby girl, you'd be healing me a hell of a lot better than anybody who ever took a saw to my bones did.
Such a stupid way about it.
He
Sorry.
says, you're telling me.
Aside from that, are you two well? Any...
I says, yeah, we're fine. And then your mother glares at him. He says, well, mostly. I mean, it's fine now that I'm dead.
Okay.
And so your mother just she puts her hands over her face and she says, oh, Wilfred, why are you so stupid? Your father had dreams of being an artist. And he took out a loan in order to fund his artistry. And now we can't pay it back. Spreading rumors that he was dead was the only way we could get Falcone off his back.
There's going to be a huge sigh of relief for me at that. Like, I didn't think you were actually, but if you were, there was going to be a...
What?
I thought that might explain the holy water.
What? Oh. Like, your father is just utterly confused, right? Like, he has no idea what's going on, and your mother is just like, your mother makes that cough of, like, don't mention that, like, oh, like...
Sorry. I'm glad you're not actually dead.
No, but I would appreciate to be as dead as you can manage to make people think I am.
Lying is all part of life, I suppose. Well, I hope I'm welcome to spend the night.
Yeah. Your bed's upstairs. It's a little dusty. Sorry, I haven't gotten around to cleaning it yet.
Yeah, it looks like you've been busy down here. If you need me.
I'll give you a holler.
And, Mom, it's been... Thank you. And I'm just gonna take my plate, clear it off, clean it, and then go upstairs like the diligent child they raised.
So that night, you'll get in some rest, not quite enough, before your mother is waking you up in a rush, telling you that the gatekeepers are here and you need to go. And she's already got a rope ready to go out the back window, down from the second floor down, and she will hurriedly rush you out with very little explanation as to what's happening.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna follow along because that's what I have to do. Because you said so.
Mom said do the thing. Quick, do the thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can stick around in town if you want to, but you'll start to notice that a lot of they're the watch at most. The locals who happen to know how to look like they can hold a spear. You'll start to notice that most of them are just casually talking with people that you would recognize from the order. And so you get the idea that maybe sticking around is a bad idea and you should probably head out.
Yeah.
And so knowing that your sister is missing, you would hear if Rudolph died. Like, there'd be no way you didn't hear about that. So he's got to be fine. As if anything could kill the asshole anyways. Right. Your parents are fine.
I mean, I know better, but one of the stories with the 2 dragon skull pauldrons, like, what the...
Yep, the dragon skull pauldrons with a giant sword bigger than he is, right?
Yeah, like, and who runs into battle wearing a red cape? There's no way that's real.
No, like, it would just draw too much attention to you. Like any tactician would tell you.
Unless you want to die, or
right? Yeah,
something.
like why would you draw that much attention to yourself?
But then on the other side of that, he's got a lot of clout. Maybe running out there like that scares people. I don't know.
You can't assume. You just can't assume what the rules are saying. We just learned that lesson. And so as you vanish off into the night to escape a home that is more like a death trap than a safe place, we will close the curtains on Emery and his prelude. You will eventually on the run you'll bump into an elderly member of the order that you only recognize in passing, who doesn't seem to think that you're as guilty as many of the order think you are. And he seems to be doing some good. So you'll eventually wind up working with him, even though he's normally your dungeon master. Now, we did say that you were most assuredly doing a Russian accent for your dwarf, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. No accents. Nice try, though, but I ain't doing it.
Okay. So, to refresh my memory, because I went over this more than 5 seconds ago, and therefore don't remember any of it.
Fair enough.
You are A, a dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
B, a member of a martial arts school that has fallen from grace and been effectively shattered, right?
Basically, his name is Hjorthurk Stoneforged. He's 142 years old, so he has red hair, red beard. The red is faded, but not that gray because he's middle-aged. So the gray hasn't quite come in, but it's definitely not as bright or fiery as it used to be. He is not getting too many details away. He is from the dwarven city of Bumcom, which I love saying because it's such a bad name, and I'm horrible at names. Bumcom. Yeah.
I feel like Bumcom needs a little like wrist flop action whenever you Bumcom.
There are things. Things are happening.
Things are going on.
Basically, it's a dwarf city, obviously in the mountains, because we're dwarves, and that's how we roll, with stone and stoneworks and metalworks.
Downhill. That's how dwarves roll. Yeah.
Yeah, downhill. Yeah, all downhill. Basically, it has numerous interactions with the Underdark, which it has to keep at bay, stem the tide kind of thing. Hjorthurk's father, his name is Derrig, and Derrig thought of a new way of dealing with the Underdark. Instead of using metalworks and weaponry, he was a librarian initially in his earlier life before Hjorthurk was born. Started looking at all these ancient texts that had been collected from around the world, in knowledge and information, and came across monastic traditions and basically taught himself how to do it, and then brought his son up in it. And as a result, the monastery, which was an old fort in Bonkom, was kind of ostracized, right? Like a resource that was being utilized for this ridiculous thing that dwarves are not known for, not famous for, and basically the city kind of disowned the family. Without too many details, Stoneforged is a name basically given to dwarves who are not in good keeping with the city elders and the nobility. So yeah, that's where Hjorthurk grew up, basically.
So in the Shattering, you took to the surface world.
Yes. With the city, the dwarven city was kind of rent in two, right? A lot of people were lost. A lot of the nobility and rich people, dwarves, didn't fare so well. The Underdark kind of took over, because the Shattering kind of affected the world physically, right? So the mountain went through structural changes. And a lot of people of the monastic order, including Hjorthurk's father, Derrig, vanished, along with the other students of the teaching, of which there were only like a couple, like 3 or 4. And Hjorthurk decided to go topside, basically to find his father.
He left Bombcom to go topside.
Anyway, yeah, he left Bombcom.
Just ruining all of the intensity of dwarf culture right here.
Welcome.
I love it. You don't get to make fun of the name Dudley Ham anymore for the rest.
Hey. I ain't saying Bombcom this entire time much more. It's, we're saying Dudley Ham all the time.
Clearly, we need Dudley Ham to go to Bombcom, and we can have some really glorious nameception.
So yes, he went topside.
Okay. Now because you said all of the members of your dojo basically vanished, right?
Yeah, left.
You telling me this story for the record has gotten me all kinds of these ideas inspired by the old martial arts movies. Mm-hmm. With challenging for the honor of my dojo and my sensei and my father's father taught me, blah 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 blah, right? So that's definitely, get used to it. You're a monk.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story.
So what have you been doing topside since the collapse?
So the collapse was 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
Yeah, 7 years ago.
He has been wandering the roads without any basic provisions, without any steed or mounts, basically going wherever there's civilization and inquiring about monasteries, monk traditions, abbeys, cloistered clerics, trying to learn about the world because he didn't quite fully understand what happened above topside.
Wandering around in a foreign country being like, hi, I'm a foreigner. I swear I'm not a tourist.
Hey, I'm a dwarf. Tell me what happened here, man. What's going on? And also kind of seeing if there's any other dwarves that are topside because they might know or have information about all the lost people, which this whole party seems to be looking for their own version of.
Yeah, so you've got a missing dad and missing dojo mates, we'll call them. That's not at all what those are called, but I'm calling them that now.
Of course.
So you had said when you had built your character, I really latched into the idea of you having that heirloom or that important significant item.
Yes.
But then I know that you rebuilt, and so it's not a magical item, but it is a possession that is important to you, and I like that idea. Do you know what that is yet?
Yes, it's a belt. Basically a belt with the sigil of that his father gave him. It's a very simple belt, nothing special about it. It basically has the sigil of the family real name that the family has.
Oh, before you were stripped of your name.
Right. So his real Derrig and Thrina Vellum Shield. So Hjorthurk Vellum Shield is his real name. And that's what the sigil, the runic marks in Dwarvish speak to. It's the only item that survived the purging that the city leaders did when they basically told that, no, you're Stoneforge now. You're just one of the masses of the bad caste, right? The unfortunate
the unimportant, the caitiff.
Yes.
Okay, so you are wandering the surprisingly lethal countryside. It's been about 7 years, and you've been at this for a while, so you have a basic grasp on human culture, because this is a human land, and non-humans are very rare. They exist, but they're very rare. And so you kind of stick out like a sore thumb, which means that you have more conversations about being a dwarf than you do about being a human, and so learning has been slow.
Makes sense. Okay.
And not just slow because people are more interested in you than they are interested in themselves, but also because whenever there's a problem with communication, everybody does that really obnoxious thing where they say the same thing but more slowly, which doesn't help you because you weren't asking because you couldn't hear them. You were asking because you had no idea what that word meant.
Right.
But you are eventually wandering around and you meet another martial artist on the road. A very short martial artist who is not actually a dwarf. He's a little taller than you, but he's a tiny human, and he's like just in general tiny. He's not a halfling. He's not like he's a human. He's just very thin, very wiry, very lightweight, very short. He has a long white beard.
So, seeing him from a distance, I probably got really excited and scurried up to him, like, "Oh my God, it's another short person," and just ran right to him.
Fanboying.
Quote, "Oh my God, it's another short person."
Another dwarf is there. Yeah.
Only to suddenly realize that he is not at all a dwarf. But there is something about the way he walks and the way he moves that tells you that he is very much an accomplished martial artist. He reminds you of the stories that your father would tell you when you were young about martial artists whose very lifespans would be altered because as they became so in tune with their own self that their harmonies and their command over their physical body would reach levels of perfection and synergy that would seem magical or mystical to the uninitiated. Okay. And that's the first thing that jumps to your mind when you see this guy. The way every single tiny motion he makes has an impressive grace to it.
Yeah, and I am bumbling towards him with my short little legs flapping in the ground, right? I have no grace to me whatsoever because I'm a dwarf. And dwarf
Quote, my
not
short
really
little legs flapping into the ground.
We're not very graceful. I'm basically just hoofing it towards him.
That's probably my favorite way a player character has ever described their own walking in the history of Dungeons and Dragons. 20 years I have been doing this, and I have never been as impressed as I was in the moment that you said, my little legs flapping in the ground.
On the ground, but yes, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, so is this guy, he's just out in the open? Like, he doesn't have a care in the world because he's so accomplished? He's just wandering?
He's looking at the sky. So you have the road that you're along, right? And you're just going from point A to point B. And there's the woods are nearby, but they're a ways off, and there's like some plains that up until the tree line. And then there's the mountains in the distance, and then there's that dead, lifeless, bland, colorless sky with the occasional flash of pink lightning, and he's just looking up at it.
All right, so I'm going to approach. Obviously, I'll make enough noise that he could hear me from far enough away if he dares to look down. But I will stop several feet short. I'm going to say short a lot. I'm going to think like, oh my God, you idiot.
Just take the opportunity to like emphasize the fact that you are using the word short and just roll with it.
He's stopping short. And I'm going to be
and then he will turn and he will look at you for a moment and then he will just look back up.
Excuse me.
And then he, like, without breaking his gaze from the sky, he says, "Why forever should you be excused? Have you done something?"
Well, Interrupting your moments of meditation. I didn't want to be rude.
Too late. How can I help you?
I'm looking for some of my kin. You know, they have been topside for several years, like me, and well, I'm just looking for anyone to point me in the right direction. You know, for another monastery or abbey that you humans, frequent.
You're looking for your cans?
No, kin like me, a dwarf like myself.
Dwarf? Oh, dwarf.
Dwarf kin.
Your kin. Yes. And he will nod, and you will suddenly realize that maybe his entire body works, but his ears clearly do not.
My name's Yorthurk Stoneforged.
What was your real name?
You mean my real last name?
Yes, none of this caste politics.
Well, how would you know about such a thing?
He says, I have wandered the multiverse, training in every martial art known to exist. Whether or not you believe me is irrelevant. The most important part is that there was once a dwarven martial artist. I think his name...
Vellumshield.
Say what?
His name was Vellumshield. That's my last name.
Was Vellumshield, yes, and he taught me the way of the stone fist. And while I was there, I learned about dwarven culture.
I don't remember seeing you, and I was there, for over a century now.
He says, I wasn't alive then. It was probably a different Vellumshield.
No, that would be my father. There's only two. There's me and him, and he is who I look for the most.
You look for your father? Oh, the kin of which you speak.
Yes. He went topside, looking for more knowledge. Apparently had exhausted the library, which he had self-taught.
Yes!
So there's just going to be one of those awkward, human to dwarf interaction silences going on, where it's like we both said the same thing, kind of like, okay, are you going to speak now, or should I speak again?
He says, look at the sky and tell me what you see.
Well, the books, those are stars, right?
Yes. Yes, those are stars. Do you know what a star is?
In theory, never really thought about it.
A star is a symbol given to you by the gods. The sky used to be filled with them. Like pebbles on a gravel road. And each one held infinite, symbolic theories and wisdom from the heavens. And then he motions up with the flashes of pink lightning and he says, and then that bullshit happened. And now you can't see them anymore.
Okay. How does this help me find my father?
This is... well, it stands to reason that the reason you cannot see the stars, which hold the answer to all questions, is because the Prince of 1,000 Blossoms rules the sky. And as above, so below. And he motions around. He says, bandits and witches and monsters and beasts and dwarf-eating monstrosities. And he's looking at you when he says that last bit, as if to gauge your reaction to the phrase dwarf-eating monstrosities.
Sir, I have dealt with creatures from the Underdark in my youth. They're all dwarf-eating.
He says, excellent, you'll get along just fine up here. My point is, as the prince reigns above, so does he reign below. And as the prince obscures all truth in the sky, so does he upon the earth. If you seek a thing, be it kin or wisdom or a nice BLT, this is the best part is I have absolutely perfectly valid reasons for him to be this ridiculous.
Hey, you're talking to Shagget now, though. You say anything about sandwiches, and you got it.
Ears perk right up. Although, of course, Yorthric just looks at you. BLT. Is this a technique?
It's a food. It's a food. You eat them. And he makes the motion as if he's uncertain if you know what eating is.
Oh, I stopped eating a long time ago. Part of my vow. Sustenance is no longer a thing for me.
He will put his hand on your shoulder and he says, I'm sorry for your loss. Well, if you find any BLTs, let me know. I'm starving. My point is, you were looking for your father, your kin. More dwarves, your classmates, your fellow practitioners,
Yes.
students. If you seek something, you must first peer behind the veil of the prince's evil. Whatever you seek, he hides from you. His agents hide from you. To find yourself and to find what you seek, you must first overcome the darkness he has put before you. And then he will motion to the sky, and with every ounce of being so proud of himself for thinking of these words that he can muster, he says, to find your father, you must punch the pink lightning.
If he tells you to ride the white pony next, now you're in trouble. Punch the pink lightning, ride the white pony. It's all the same thing.
Is that a person? Or a thing? Or is it like lightning in the sky, but of a different color?
Oh, that, and he points at another crack of lightning. That's the pink lightning right there. It's a metaphor. The pink lightning happened when the collapse happened. The Prince of 1,000 believes, likes lightning, evil nonsense, you know. And now that is the go punch bad guys and save good people, and you will find yourself along the way.
I've been doing that anyway, so I guess I'll continue. Is there a town down that road?
Most roads go to towns eventually.
Well,
I
haven't.
haven't been that way yet, to be honest with you.
I see.
He says, but I can tell you this. And his eyes, like, this whole time he's been kind of looking at you like you would expect, like an old man who's a little more less in touch with the world than you are. There's something like that washes away that obliviousness and that lack of awareness, and there's a distinct transformation on his features. He says, but if you keep going, you will find the bandit camp, and that is where your journey begins. And then immediately, as you go to say the next thing, he snaps back to normal and goes, and find me a BLT.
Bandits and BLT. I'll inquire down the road.
Happy trails.
Well, not if there's bandits. I'm just gonna kind of give like a little weird bow, a little like nod. That's not quite a half bow, like a quarter bow. Like a current like.
Well, I mean, it's happier than if they were dwarf eating, I suppose, right? You really should learn to look at the bright side of things. The glass is half full of something. BLT, full of BLT, yes.
Well, thank you.
This eating is so difficult. You have to constantly do it. It's...
What is your name? If I may ask.
He says, yes, what is it?
I'm asking you.
Oh. I was hoping you knew. What would you call me?
Old,
What would you say? What is my name? What do I feel like to you? I mean, not in a creepy way. Don't do that.
Old, Larry? It's a common... it's a common name, I heard.
Did you just name my NPC Old Larry?
Larry.
Old Larry.
Old Larry.
He says, then I suppose Old Larry shall do. What is a name if not the embodiment of who you are, Stoneforged?
Well, that's why I was hoping you would tell me, so I wouldn't, disgrace your personhood with a false name.
There is truth in what people see in you. If you can filter what they themselves see of themselves in what they see in you.
What? I'm just gonna tilt my head, kind of like raise a brow, bushy brow, you know?
He says, think of it like this. If there was an old man who really liked BLTs, and you came along, and you smelled like food, and you asked him what he saw on you, and he said, you smell like food. He's not lying. You do smell like food, but you must understand that his description of you is colored by his personal perspective. That said, you still smell like food, and it is on you to understand what that means for yourself. By giving me the name of Old Larry, you have told me two things. One, that I am whatever you would assume an Old Larry would look like. And two, you have thus told me what you assume an Old Larry would be. I have thus learned of myself and of you. And it is in this that the beauty of naming is found.
I will, mull over your wisdom. It's not how I was raised. It's not the culture I was brought up in, but I can see that there is some truth to what you say. It's just not something I am used to, digesting.
You don't digest much, you had said.
Well, yeah, but you digest in terms of information, you know, how I was taught.
You can eat information? Oh my god, that solves everything. And he'll, like this will be a revelation to him, and he will literally just start, like, wandering off towards the dark woods, being like, how did nobody tell me this? And then, like, he walks into the tree line going, how did you not tell me this? At the sky.
I'm just gonna watch him leave and kind of
and thus
roll my shoulders, watch old Larry leave, and kind of clench my fist, crack my knuckles, and be like, bandits. Not like I have anything worth stealing anyway. And I'm just gonna head down that road. Not looking back at old Larry.
So
My mind is just blown. I don't know what that was.
It's like, what just fucking happened?
Punch the pink lightning, man. Okay.
So I want to. Okay, I read a lot of comic books and I watch a lot of TV, and you've given me the perfect transition from the first half of your scene to the second half of your scene.
Okay.
Which is the thought of, I don't have anything worth stealing anyways. And I want to cut right there to you waking up to a huge bump on your head, a rattle of chains and like manacles between your ankles,
Okay.
and not having your belt on.
Oh, you. Bleary-eyed, I'm gonna be looking around for my surroundings, trying to get a sense of things.
My brain has gone in an absolute fart fest. What time do we go to?
10:30. So we got 45 more minutes.
We got 45 minutes. Excellent.
What I'm going to do is once you're done with Shagget, we will take a very short break. Just take 5 minutes and let everybody do things that sometimes you have to do in 5 minutes, and then we'll go on to Jane afterwards.
All right, sounds good to me. Okay, so you wake up, your belt is gone, you're clearly tied up. You did not expect bandits to be a problem. As a matter of fact, you're not entirely certain how they might have been a problem. You don't even remember. It must have been a solid blow to the head.
No. So I'm gonna look around and try to see if I see any bandits. Like I'm obviously chained or something, right?
Yeah, roll me search to find out like if you roll absolute crap, there'll be no visibility, etc.
All right, search.
I moved over to the Roll20 window and it rolled Oberon's diplomacy check. I was like, wow, oh, Shagget.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those campaigns where I roll like crap all the time.
You rolled a 7 with a -1 modifier for a total of 6.
Yeah, he's not very smart.
So your head is throbbing, you're seeing double, or you would be if you could see much. It's dark. You can feel cold, moist dirt against your back. You can't see much at all of anything. You do not see any bandits. You can tell just kind of like moving your hands around that 1, your hands are shackled to each other, and 2, you're in a cramped, shallow underground something. Like you were stuffed in a hole, maybe?
Or a grave, maybe?
Well,
No.
you could breathe,
Okay.
right? You're not like buried. You're definitely in like a small cave or a foxhole of some kind.
So I'm gonna stay absolutely quiet, not let anyone know that I'm conscious, right?
Okay.
And just listen for any clues that might key me into what's going on as I try to clear my eyesight, so I can see.
Okay. So you're just kind of like you're gonna see if you can overhear something. You can hear not too far away the crackle of a fire. There's sounds of laughing, or like, but it's not like nice laughing, like we're having such a joyous and wholesome time kind of. That's not the kind of laughing you were hearing. It's very bad, very mean laughing, right? Somebody is clearly being made fun of. Somebody is getting upset that they're being made fun of, and they're drunkenly grunting at each other, and a fight is breaking out. You're gonna guess you found the bandits.
Right. So I guess I'm gonna try to see about unrestraining myself, right? Like seeing if I could wiggle out of the chains, or maybe find if there's a lock that I could possibly touch with my finger, I guess, because I don't have any lockpicks, really.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so give me an escape artist check. Oh man, I have an escape artist skill. I missed 3.5. I take back all the shit talking I did about the skill system before.
Well, wait until you see me roll my.
Oh, look at him!
Oh!
Wow.
Whoa!
All right. So on a 17, you will manage to. You see, the thing is that these shackles, they aren't made for dwarf-sized people. They're too you have thicker wrists than a human would, right? And your arms are a little shorter, so they're the wrong shape and size. So it's easy for you to like pry them, and you realize they couldn't close all the way around you in the first place. So you can force them open and very quietly kind of set them to the ground, and then get your ankles free. And as you're doing so, you will wind up like your hand will brush against something cold, and you will realize it is probably a dead body.
I'm not going to retract my hand. I'm going to... If I can't see yet, I mean, I have dark vision as a dwarf, but I'm still kind of blurry-eyed, right? From
Dark
head.
vision.
I do. Yeah, I'm a dwarf. Find out who it is. Find out what it is, right?
Okay, so I completely forgot dark vision existed, because since the dawn of time, I have just played like dark vision didn't exist.
Okay.
It's up to you guys whether or not you really like the addition of dark vision, or if you're cool with everybody just having normal vision.
I honestly don't care. Like,
if you guys don't care, then I'm cool with just going on with dark vision not happening, because it is super hard to describe like super creepy, difficult to see dark, shadowy evils when somebody's like, I have dark vision, I see it's fine. Like,
everyone is except for Jane is human, right? So
It's only you that has it anyway.
it's only me.
Okay.
So if everyone doesn't, then I'm totally cool not having it, right?
yeah, let's just toss the whole dark vision thing out.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
cool with that. So
Um,
I will feel the corpse with my hands, right?
it
the sense
is.
of who it is, what it is.
You could
So
replace
it's-
it with low light vision, maybe.
Yeah, low light I don't mind at all.
Replace it with low light. That way you can see well with low light, but in
Yeah,
total
okay.
darkness you're still fucking blind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so you feel around the corpse and you can determine that 1, they are human. 2, they probably were some form of nobility because the material their clothes are made out of is very soft. But there is 0 jewelry and 0 precious metals to be found on them.
Okay.
They also have an empty scabbard at their hip.
All right. I'm gonna stand up as quietly as I can, and knowing the direction of the laughter, probably hoping there's a fire or something so I could see better.
Mhm.
You know, just even if it's silhouettes, I'm gonna try to creep up on the scene and see if I can find my belts, because that's the first thing I notice is missing when I, examine my wounds and my body. Right.
You seem to be like you took a blow to the head, exactly where somebody would strike you if they meant to kill you.
Oh.
I will give you this. Not killing you with this blow to the head would have had to have been either extremely lucky or very on purpose. And that's something you know as a martial artist. That's the kind of thing where you can easily accidentally kill somebody.
Okay, so this was most likely not intended not to kill me. Is that what you're saying, basically? Just
Yeah,
so
your
we're clear?
2 possibilities are 1, they meant to
Right.
not kill you, or they meant to kill you and you
And
are
you're just lucky.
seriously lucky. Yeah.
Okay.
And so as you kind of peer out, you can see that this is a hole. You've literally just been chucked in a ditch. And as you're climbing up, you realize that there's more bodies, all basically the same story. Probably people the bandits hit and took all their shit, and then just disposed of the bodies.
Okay.
And as you're kind of like, I'm envisioning like the grass floor of a woody area, right? You're in it. There's a clearing. There's trees reaching up as high as you can high as you can see. There's the roarious sounds of bandits laughing and fighting, and everything is cast in this like bright, high contrast orange from the flickering campfire, right? And then there's the little dwarven fingers that pop up over the ridge of the edge of the hole, and then you kind of peer up, kind of like part the blades of grass and look this way and that. And you see that there are probably like 20 or 30 bandits here.
Holy shit.
All of which are human, except 1.
Oh no.
Fight them all.
There is a dwarf standing on like a log that is clearly meant for sitting near the fire, and you can make out the silhouette. You can make out her silhouette. She's
Okay.
holding a mug of ale, right? And people are kind of like reacting. She's kind of like leading the toast, as it were, like another successful raid sort of thing going on here. And you can't make out what's being said because they're all so loud and drunk. But you're pretty certain, judging on the shape of it, that she's wearing your belt.
And is she wearing clothes befitting a monk, or clothes for befitting like an actual bandit dwarf, with weapons and...
She doesn't seem to
blades?
be armed, but there are like weapons just kind of like scattered around all over the place. She's not wearing armor.
Okay.
The silhouette is showing like torn sleeves, right? So like imagine, I'm gonna give you a description, Shagget, and you're gonna be able to forever remember that this was how the DM chose to describe the shape of the silhouette.
Okay.
Picture a female dwarven Ryu.
Okay. Got it.
And she's apparently the one in charge. It does not look like you have any easy path to get in or out without being caught. you could like try and sneak. I mean, clearly they're all drinking. There's there's flickering shadows, but it's not like you can just like haphazardly walk out of the camera like, ta-da, I'm gone.
So I'm basically going to bide my time and slip back into the ditch and fake shackle myself again, right? Put the shackles on my arms like I am shackled, and I'm just going to lie in wait and see what transpires over the next, several hours. Maybe they come to investigate me, of which I'll pretend to be knocked out, or maybe I'm just forgotten. Or because it seems like I was shackled in a ditch full of corpses that they knew that it wasn't a lethal blow, right? Because they hit me, and then they obviously checked me. So I want to see what happens without letting them know that I'm actually free.
Okay.
Especially if there's no way to like hide or escape, which you said there. It didn't look like there was a way. I'm super outnumbered, so.
Right. So after a while, it'll become obvious to you that nobody's coming back to the body ditch where they throw their corpses. Maybe they think you're dead. Maybe you are just really lucky.
So I am going to wait for the sounds to die down. Maybe they get into drunken stupors and fall asleep.
Okay.
And I can be stealthy ninja man.
All right. So you wait for everybody to like pass out, and then you want to find your belt, I assume.
Find my belts. Take it. Most likely hit her in the face a few times so she dies, unless I know who she is, and then escape. Basically. So kill the leader. Yeah.
Give me a sneaky roll. Stealth. Is it stealth or sneak? I think it's stealth.
It's stealth.
Move silently would be the one.
Move silently. Yeah.
I forget I think move silently and hide are still split into two skills in 3.5. They didn't combine those until Pathfinder.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And now because this is a super secret roll that I use to determine what the hell is going on. I do it over here. Only I spell it properly because I'm good at this. All right. So you get the drop on her while she's waiting to get the drop on you. So what's going on is basically the bandits are all passed the fuck out. They're all asleep. A couple of them are clearly taking up positions like sentry positions in trees with bows, but they're not looking at the back of the camp where the corpses get tossed. She has a resting spot all to herself, probably befitting of her status as like leader of the bandits, maybe.
Okay.
And like her little tent area, she's clearly expecting you, but she doesn't know you're there.
Okay. All right.
So you kind of like peer in just carefully, not making any noise, very quietly, careful not to disturb the light in the room too much, using your body to block any light from the dying campfire that might come in from the door opening so that she can't see you coming in.
So which way is she facing as I can approach her? I mean, the layout of the cave, right? Could I sneak into a position so I'm not moving in front of her field of vision? I'm moving off to the side, getting closer and closer.
Yeah, you can go like around her, right? So her feet are closest to the door. She's lying down on a makeshift bedroll, right? She's got her face away from you, but you can tell by the way that her muscles tense and relax and the way that she's breathing that she's not actually asleep.
Okay.
Almost enough to fool you, but not quite.
Okay. So I feel like Jaws music needs to be playing at this point in time. I'm basically going to sneak up on her and do a throat punch followed by a head punch, like just a quick, 2-hit to stop her from gargling or making any noise, and then hopefully knocking her out. To which point I would beat her face in if I, truly grow her, basically.
Well, you rolled so high on your move silently, and I rolled so low on my listen. That I'm not going to make any rolls go on here. You can literally just open up with like an elbow to the throat, like boom, knock her the fuck out. She's still wearing the belt, and you can take the belt off her, and then roll her over, ready to finish the job, and that's when you will finally get the chance to see her face and you will recognize her.
Oh, who is she?
What was your fellowship's name?
It was Brilva.
Yeah, Brilva.
One of my female student dwarf. Yeah.
And so you knocked her the fuck out, and now you have your belt. But there's Brilva. You just punched Brilva in the throat. You already did not get along with Brilva right now. Like, there is some history here.
So I'm gonna follow my knees with the belt in my hands. I'm gonna wrap it around my waist, and I'm gonna check her pulse first, right?
She's alive.
And then I'm check her purse, check the rest of her. Is she like any items or notes or anything that might tell me where she came from or her story?
So from her belongings, you can tell that she's been at this for a bit. There is a small crate in the corner of the tent that does not have valuables in it. No gold, no beer, no food. Instead, it's just clippings of notes or letters that have clearly been stolen from someone, and all of them are discussing a dwarf that you readily recognize the description of as your father. So it would appear that you are not the only one tracking down your dad.
I'm going to hoist her up, take her to the ditch, chain her like I was chained. Because I don't really want to kill her. Cause,
it really is petty with you two. I like it.
and I'm gonna kind of like pat the top of her head and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you bitch." And then I'm gonna leave her in the ditch, go back to the crates, see if I can see any information that will point me to a direction, and then try to sneak out. Basically, that's my game plan.
Yep. I have no problem with that going smoothly. I will point out, it is now suddenly apparent to you why you were not killed, because she is good enough to not kill you, but then thrown in the ditch with the bodies. She was trying to make everybody else think you were dead, so she saved your life.
Well, she took my belt.
She took your belt, and she deserves to be in the fucking pit. You will manage to collect all of the information. Do you leave her the information, or do you take it with you?
Devote it. I mean, if I can devote it to memory in the short time that I have. I mean, obviously, I do this all in haste for fear of being caught.
Yeah. Roll me a wisdom save.
All right.
I feel like wisdom is the right thing for memory. I forget if there's a specific roll for remembering things. What'd you get?
It's.
So there's a lot of information here. You probably can't dedicate it all to memory. I was thinking like maybe a 15.
Okay. So I will borrow that information temporarily.
Okay.
So I can commit it to memory. Yeah.
And you can sneak out just fine.
Okay.
And you are headed west.
West.
To Westington or Westville, or
Westfall,
or West City, or what?
I'm heading west. Yes.
You're heading west
to get a BLT.
This is to find a BLT. Mm-hmm. And we can take a break here before we pick up with Jane, if you guys want.
Sure.
All right, sounds good. Okay, well, we'll do that. We'll take a very, very short break. We'll do like we normally do. We basically kind of split the cast up and go to a Q&A so everybody can ask questions. So let's go ahead and bring up the Q&A map.
Thank you, Flutto.
So that's what we will do. Flutto, thank you for the sub, my friend. Resub hype, 35 months. Holy shit. Go ahead, take your pants off, hit the hype for that dude, as well as anybody else that's gone ahead and hit the button. All right, so yeah, we can continue on in our frivolity, and we can get a little insight into Mr. Dudley.
All right.
Can't wait.
So, Dudley.
Hi.
What was life like before the collapse? Give me a quick snapshot. You don't have to give away all the details if you don't want, but just set me some, give me some context because I forget.
Before the Empire fell. That's
Yeah.
what you mean. Well, Dudley lived in a quaint little farming town. It was a mix of, humans and halflings alike. His father was like a fur tradesman. Mother was mostly a caretaker of the family, and he often went out to the woods, which surrounded their little hamlet, with a bunch of the boys from his town, and really his favorite parts of growing up were going out with the boys, which was called, really, they formed a little club, and it was called the Adventurers Guild, and they'd go out into the woods and they would learn how to survive in the wilderness. Even though they were just kids, they didn't really know what they were doing, but through that he learned a couple of things about surviving and also how to use a little sling, and those are probably his fond memories as a little kid growing up.
So what you're telling me is that you are literally choosing to play a Boy Scout in this game world.
I am telling you that I am literally choosing to play a Boy Scout in this game world.
I love it. He won't, but I do. Okay. And then ever since the fall, ever since the collapse happened, what has Dudley been doing?
So when the collapse happened, he pretty much clung tightly to the Adventurers Guild. He needs someone to look up to very often, and he really thought that the leader of this guild, his name was Beaver Hughes, was just an incredible person. He was obsessed. So he thought, I'm just going to stick with this guild and I'll survive with them. And this is the light in this dark, terrible place. So he pretty much followed them around for about 5 or 6 years, pretty much being one of the boys. They're running amok pretty much. They weren't terrible people. They were just trying to survive pretty much.
Okay. Now you are currently on your own, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you haven't heard about what happened to your father. Was it an adopted father? Was he a human? Was he a halfling? Was it your biological father?
This is his, yeah, he had a biological father named, we'll call him Brennan, who I said was a fur tradesman, but at one point before the fall, his dad just never really came home from one of his trips, and this was kind of early on in his life.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you are wondering, because most people who survived the collapse have good reasons to not go home.
Mm-hmm.
Your years and years of adventuring with the guild lended you a solid set of skills that have proven critical to your survival after the world has turned much darker than anybody could have ever fathomed. You've been doing pretty well. I get the idea that you're the kind of boy who would go out of his way to make certain that the starving refugees have food, that would rescue the little birdie with the broken wing, help the kitty out of the tree. And so, like, I can envision Dudley going through the darkest and grittiest and bloodiest of worlds while also doing all of these adorable little acts of good and kindness that aren't actually saving the world at all, but that kitty is no longer stuck in the tree, and
that sounds about right.
Right? Like, that's the vision I get for Dudley, kind of like going through the world. And you are just coming to a village somewhere east of whatever happens to be the west. To the west, right? Shifty eyes. Shifty. And so you are going through this tavern. You're going through the town, and you're heading to a tavern, and the tavern that you come across is called the Bloody Lamb.
That sounds familiar.
The town is called Ruster Whistle, Rustyton, Rotherham.
Yeah, that's one.
Rotherham. Wow, I actually got it.
Only took three attempts in. Bam, done.
I like Rusty Whistle myself.
That was what it was before they changed it.
Yeah, and and you are coming through, and there's a couple of trappers that are doing, they're trading their furs and stuff, and it kind of catches your eye because it's something that you know, and the industry has gotten there are only two ways to be involved in the industry. One, you're not getting paid enough because people don't have the money to pay you. Or two, you are getting paid way too much because there's not enough people doing it. And so you are watching the most egregiously mispriced furs exchange hands. And you happen to know for a fact that the guy who's trading these furs is, one, reselling furs that he did not earn himself. Two, saying he earned them himself, that they are much fresher. And three, telling this person who doesn't know any better that they're the wrong kind of animal and upcharging the ever-living crap out of him. And so there's these two gruff-looking men. One of them is clearly a little dull and probably a bit into his cups. And this con artist is posing as a trapper to take advantage of him. And the question is, does Dudley Ham stand for this?
I take a look at the situation, and I'm assuming the transaction is still kind of happening in front of me.
Yeah, it's kind of like haggling back and forth, and every time this guy is like clearly trying to save as much money as he can because he's got kids to feed, the con artist is like, oh no, and introduces another reason they're super expensive. Yeah.
I'm going to casually just saunter up there and be like, oh wow, interesting furs you got there. What is that, raccoon?
Raccoon? Oh, these are raccoon. He says, pointing at the obvious raccoon furs, right? He's like, no, these are the indigenous grizzly mini bears that are very dangerous. I had to hunt them myself.
That doesn't really seem right. If you could see, I like point to my head. I got a raccoon fur right on here. It's a hat, and this seems to be the exact same material. How much are you paying for this, guy? Surely not what I'm seeing right here.
Well, I sold my donkey for 5 gold. And then I bought my donkey for 5 gold.
Oh, this poor bastard.
Sorry. Okay.
And well, after you said this was your favorite part, I couldn't not throw this at you when I had the opportunity.
And so I think he wants five gold seems to be the going rate for a lot of things. Sounds reasonable.
Now,
5 gold.
5 gold is like, this is worth maybe 5 silver. Like,
okay. Now, you listen here, fur tradesman. I know that these raccoon pals, they're pretty cool, as I got one myself, but I'm sorry to say, but this isn't really worth 5 gold. Couldn't you just give it to him for, I don't know, 1 gold?
what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
I'm just concerned, because clearly this guy's drunk, and I don't want you to take advantage. I'm not sure you realize he's drunk.
You're taking advantage of me because I'm drunk?
Oh, I see how this fucking Dudley guy's gonna be right now. Tolgar 2.0. Dropping us in the shit every step of the way.
Are you? And he points in the face of the fur tradesman.
Whoa, listen, there's no need for...
I am not an advantage to be taken.
Everybody calm down. Yeah, I didn't really mean he was taking advantage. I'm somewhat of a fur expert myself, and, I'd like to... If I could help out with this transaction, I think it's really just worth the 1 gold.
And like the fur tradesman was about to, was about to say something, but then you said 1 gold.
And I wink. I wink at him.
And he says, the fur tradesman says, now, yeah, right. Calm down. Let me double check my furs. I'm not taking advantage of nobody.
All right.
Oh no, you're right.
This is the raccoon fur. They look so similar to the tiny, mini grizzly bear coons of the indigenous forests of the region.
Barracoons.
I know it's a very easy mistake to make, so if you could just correct this.
It was a very traumatic experience having to, hunt and fight it. They're very
Oh, for
vicious.
sure. Yeah, definitely.
You
definitely.
get the trauma brain damage, and I just didn't remember it well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, great. So,
You're right, a gold. And for you, I'll knock it down to a gold. Oh, really? Are you sure? I mean, I don't want to pay you less than it's worth. No, for all this confusion, now I'll definitely knock it down to a gold just for you. Just for you. Uh-oh. I could have sworn I had gold. I had 5. I had 5 gold. Oh no, I bought a donkey.
Oh no.
I mean, if you ain't got a gold, I can't sell you the furs if you ain't got no money. I mean, this is I got a business. I got mouths to feed. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. You keep your bearcoons. And you. He points at Dudley.
Yeah.
I like your hat.
Thank you, sir.
Like-
Yeah, it's really nice. Thank you.
Drunkenly wander past.
I'm gonna turn to this tradesman, and say, "Listen, I'm sorry I interrupted that. It's just fur trading. It kind of runs in my family, and I can kind of tell you're not really sure what you're doing here, huh?"
Are you honestly apologizing to me for ruining my gig?
Well, it seemed like you had something going on there, but I just looked at that poor guy's face. I couldn't let you do that to him. He's clearly been swindled today already.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's just not nice.
So now you're telling me that you feel bad for doing him a favor because doing him a favor means I can't do my gig, and you feel bad for me.
I kind of feel bad for you as well in the way that, well, you clearly, well, to be honest, you definitely don't own those. I think you maybe took them from somebody. Am I right?
Yeah, who the hell fur traps anymore?
My father, for one. I'm sure he's out there right now. It's kind of why I'm approaching you anyway. Who did you steal those from?
Some asshole out in the woods.
What did he look like?
Well, okay. Technically, it's not stealing. Well, stealing isn't bad if the person you get it from stole them. I can steal from thieves. That's not bad.
I don't really know much about that kind of morality.
Now, I got it off some dwarven bandit off in the woods about that
Okay.
ways away, down the road a piece. And then she got it off some halfling dweeb who wandered into the wrong neck of the woods.
Halfling dweeb. You know, there's really not many halflings around these parts.
No, they tend to stick away from, hell.
That's really interesting that you say that, because it couldn't be No, it's probably not. Do you know how I can trace this back? Do I just go through the woods here?
Look,
kid. Normally, I would make up all kinds of shit and charge you for the information.
Oh.
Not gonna. Truth is, I don't really know. It's down the road that way is a piece. Probably in for a day or two of travel. I'm not kidding about the bear coons, though. Those things are nasty.
Bear coons.
Yeah,
Bear
after,
raccoons. Is that what you're telling me?
After the collapse, a lot of the plants and animals in these parts got pretty mean. They're not the same. Watch your back.
I fought plenty of bears and I fought plenty of raccoons in my day. Never a bear raccoon.
Wait, you fought bears?
Yeah, I fought bears, wolves, birds. I'm gonna show him my sling. All with this.
You fought birds?
Well, you know, sometimes they fight back. Now you gotta eat too.
Well, I'm glad we crossed paths, kid. I like you, and I do not want to make you angry. So I am going to go over here. And I will definitely not be ripping off other drunk people.
Just be careful, all right? The business that you're in, it's not great, all right? I just think about your actions next time you're talking to people and selling them stuff, and maybe think about their family and what kind of situation they're in, and be kind.
Right.
Be kind. In this fucking world. Sorry.
He says, I'll get right on that. Thanks. You've blown my mind.
Wow, I'm really great. I have that effect on you. I'm really trying.
It's been a life-changing experience, really.
So this way then, right?
Yeah, that way. If the bandits haven't moved, they'll be about a day out, and then they said they got him from about a day out after that. So you're looking about 2 days west.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I'm gonna toddle off in that direction.
All right. Well, true to form.
Swaddle.
Apparently, he was not kidding when he said he did not want to piss you off because you fought bears. Because about a day out there, your adventuring guild instincts are starting to kick in, and you are noting that these are not normally levels of quiet, the woods out here. Like, somebody has put effort in to make this the most inviting stretch of path you could have, and it's perfect ambush territory. It's about it's about as far out as you were told there'd be bandits, and you're capable of putting one and one together and getting hopefully two most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Not everything makes sense ever since the collapse. But so there you are. You don't have to walk into the ambush if you don't want to, because I'm not that level of a DM yet.
Thank you. I don't want to walk right into an ambush. I would like to try to not be in that situation, if possible. I'd like to use lots of bushes to hide behind and stealth around, and trees to my advantage.
All right, roll
And
me.
not walk along the beaten path.
In this case, it won't be move silently. It'll be hide.
All right, hide it is. Skills. Ooh,
Come on, Dudley.
I'm pretty good at
Come
that.
on.
Oh, not with that kind of roll.
What'd you get?
13.
13. Not good enough. Good enough for most people, but not good enough for seasoned bandits.
Okay.
So you'll be kind of like trying to go around, and you'll get that prickly feeling on the back of your neck, like your hair is standing up, like you're being watched. And you'll know that they got you before they get you. But
Okay.
it's too late. And what'll wind up happening is there'll be a hollow thunk next to you as you're kind of like I envision you being in like that classic Pink Panther sneaking pose, right? And then just an arrow will like plug into the tree next to you, and you stop. Turn, you look, and there's a very homemade arrow.
Mm-hmm.
You look, and there's nobody behind you. They're clearly using the terrain to their advantage.
Yeah. I drop down to the ground instantly and pull out my sling.
Really? You're gonna go prone.
No, like
Something about that voice goes familiar. Like that's a voice
that's the
calling
voice?
out the woods.
Oh.
Yeah. Something about that voice sounds familiar. That must be like criticizing your tactic.
It was being a dick. Really? You could get pro? Oh my god, Jane.
Jane, you really gonna make that choice? What
God, what a
I,
noob.
I run
So
fight.
bad at D&D.
I run fight streams. You know, tactical gameplay.
Oh my
go pro.
god, Jane, that's like the
can't
worst
even-
move ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so bad at D&D. I can't express how bad you are.
I honestly think that
This game,
Shagget
I
doesn't
think
get to keep the shiggles this campaign. I think that they belong more
Yeah,
to Squeegee than anybody.
Yeah.
Yes, we need that emo.
I understand. Yeah.
I go, wait a second, and my ears perk up and I look up. For tradesmen? Is it you?
How are you still alive?
He hasn't been on his own for too long.
Oh, no.
Seriously, Dudley? Hands
Oh. I'm gonna stand up.
And
Oh, I smell what he's laying down.
arrow drawn out from the woods will come Bucky. Bucky was one of the gang.
Oh no. Bucky! What are you doing here?
Robbing you?
You've never robbed a thing in your life. You suck at that. You
Robbing you?
You remember that one time?
At band camp.
What one?
Get out of here, Bucky. I'm trying to run away from you guys.
Like you did last time?
Well, where's the rest of the gang, huh? Is it just you out here?
It's just me. After we all almost died, things didn't go so hot for the rest of us.
You don't understand, alright? Just get out of here. I don't want to see your face.
You don't want to see my face. Look, we can't all have a nice raccoon skin cap, alright, kid?
Listen, I don't want. It was all a big misunderstanding, alright?
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna look around while we're talking and try to see if I see movement in the trees of other members or if it's just him.
Roll me search.
Alright. Trying to play dumb for a little bit while I actually look for other people.
Playing dumb.
Legend of Adventures. Thanks for the raid, dude. Appreciate it, buddy.
Tactics.
On an 18, there's no other movement. It would appear that he's the only one here. Now, you haven't had too many tangos with bandits, I'm guessing, but you're not stupid. That probably means that he decided to handle this on his own after seeing you, so he was sentry. So if he makes a lot of noise, there will be company, but right now there doesn't seem to be any.
Okay. Well, listen, what do you want from me? You know I don't have anything.
He's looking at your hat.
You're kidding, right? And I want to try to be sneaking my way into my back pocket to grab my sling.
Yeah.
The whole time that I'm talking to him.
He says,
You know, this thing's worth like two silver. Who cares?
what do you mean, who cares? That hat was your favorite thing. You loved that damn hat. Kind of like we all liked you.
I didn't do anything.
We all liked the guild, Dudley.
I loved the guild. It was the only thing that kept me going.
Yeah, that's why you almost blew us all up, isn't it?
No, I didn't. You guys were about to die, and I said, why don't you just believe me?
At this point, you'll definitely have your sling, right?
Okay.
And he's really intent. He says, "Why didn't you believe me? You're about to die." Uh-huh. Sure thing, Dudley. Hand over the hat.
I will not hand over the hat. In fact, as I go to reach out, I'm like, all right, fine. The move to get my hat up, I actually take my sling out and just let one off right in his eye.
Right, so he's like moved in point blank with his bow because that's the tactical position to have the bow. And you get and you're like, let me get that, and you get him right in the eye, and he's gonna go, and he just like kind of topples over in the most like comical heels over head, right, just like flies over himself and lands flat and is crying.
I
just
would
like
immediately
on
jump
the
on
ground,
top of him,
crying.
cover his mouth so he can't scream about it.
He cries on your hand. He bites your hand.
Stop crying. What are you doing? Shh. It's okay. Just calm down.
Okay. It's just like, it's like thrashing underneath you.
Just shh. What the hell's wrong with you, man? What's your problem? I forgot your name. Even though you're like one of my old best friends. What's his name again?
Bucky.
Huh? Bucky. I need to write that down.
It's like he's kicking his feet up and down and like crying and chomping at your hand, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with him? He's like, she shot me in the eye!
It's gonna heal. You're gonna be fine.
Just like I did last time. Just get out of here. I never want to see you again. Go! Get your stupid hat.
Are you
Go
alone?
away.
Are you alone? Just tell me.
What do you mean am I alone?
Where's the guild?
The guild is gone, Dudley. You blew it up.
What? I ran away from you guys. I didn't blow you guys up.
Yo, whatever you tell yourself to sleep at night, just go. Get out of here.
I'm going to relinquish the bow from his hand
Mhm.
and then start running. Yes.
What's the matter with you? What happened to you? You shot me in the eye! And you will leave him kind of like
Dudley's a
crying,
little
sitting up,
thief.
holding his hand, or holding his head, and you will get away.
Okay. That's not the last I'll see of Bucky, I don't think.
Probably not.
It might be the last Bucky sees of you, though. He might be blind now.
Yeah, he won't be very good with the bow after that.
They call him
Kid with
Bucky.
an eye patch.
Bucky
Yep,
One
so
Eye from
sorry.
now on.
NPCs to use now.
Okay.
So you bolt, and eventually you think you've got enough distance, and you can kind of like catch your breath.
All right. I'm going to toss the bow into the woods because I just wanted him to not have it, and I guess I'm looking for the bandits now. Trying to forget about Bucky, hoping I never see him again or anybody from the guild.
Well, I mean, at this point, you're probably past the bandits' territory, and you need to go past them to get to where you think your father might be.
Okay.
I think.
Bandits.
Yeah. So you're past the bandits at this point,
Mhm.
and you're not certain what Bucky was doing, but you get the idea that he was with them.
Okay.
And then the day will finish. You'll kind of like make your little makeshift Boy Scout camp.
Mhm.
And then the final day can start. You can start searching for the hunter, and you'll start to see signs of like of a fur trapper's trade, caches of supplies, the scaffolding they put up in a tree to like comfortably sit with their bow while they're waiting for deer to come along. You'll also see that many of the trees in this area have been viciously clawed, as if by small, grisly paws.
He wasn't joking about the bears, huh? I would probably examine the leftovers of the camps I'm seeing to see what they've left behind, and if I remember, the tools my father used as a kid, and he was very, I probably knew which furs he liked the best, see if anything matches up in that kind of way.
So you find as you're digging around, like, the more you look and the more you think it can't be, the more you're presented with evidence that it is. It's his camps are organized the same way that you remember them. Like, standing in one of the used campsites with the cold firewood actually brings back a lot of memories from your childhood. It's clear that the camps are built by somebody who's hunting the same kind of furs your father would hunt. The only difference is that your father used to hunt in pairs with a partner, and these camps are clearly just for one person.
Okay.
But other than that, like, it's you keep following, and it gets to the point where you find out, you see what the pattern is, and you recognize your father's old pattern of, like, where he would like to set up camp. And you stop looking for the next camp, you start looking for the places he would set up camp. And eventually, you will smell a campfire.
Okay.
And you kind of, like, scramble up a rock, and kind of, like, at this point, you're not really paying much attention. You're slipping a little bit. You're kind of, like, frantically rushing in because it's been more than 7 years since you've seen your father.
Mm-hmm.
And as you stumble up and over the camp where the tent is still pitched, the fire is just starting to go out, and the pot that's kind of suspended over the fire is probably at this point a little burnt, and you see a body in the campsite.
Oh, good. Keep going.
And that excitement and anticipation just suddenly shoots through you like a cold knife, because oh my god, and you scramble over, you roll the body over, and you can tell it's been clawed to death by small feral creatures.
Okay.
And it's your dad's old hunting partner.
Ah! Okay, I'm gonna. Oh my god! I'm gonna look around. No signs of anybody else here in this camp.
Nope, it's a single seater, just like the rest were.
I'm gonna drop him and just sit onto the ground and just go. I knew it was too good to be true. And I will check out the fur that the guy's wearing to see if it would be suitable for me.
Well, at this point, you are I don't want to say full grown. I don't know if that term applies to halflings, but you are as grown as halflings get.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll roughly fit. And as you're digging through the fur and then the belongings and so on, you'll actually find some opened letters. And most of them are just, like with merchants, right? There's a lot of being like, careful in that area. The bandits out there are really brutal. Though they'll give you a crap price if you offer to barter so that you can give more of them later, right? Like, it becomes obvious, like, the reason the bandits let him live is because he would come back to them, and they stole from him.
Yeah.
But you find a letter from your father that's dated not too long ago, about a deal, like a merchant who can actually who will pay real prices, especially since the collapse. That's such a rare thing, and we could make some good money, and we might actually be able to get something to bring back home finally. Meet me out west in Weston.
I will pocket that note, and just, I think at this point I'd be so elated because this whole time I didn't really believe he was really alive anyway, and I would start to dig a little grave for this man who was a friend of my father's, and put the body in and bury him in with a bunch of furs, because that's a proper fur tradesman burial right there.
And you don't actually have any ability to give last rites officially, right?
No.
Okay.
I will do a solemn salute.
Leave your raccoon skin cap.
Yeah. And then take a look at the letter and be like, west it is. Start heading in that direction in search of not only my father, but a new party to join with, because I just left my old one and they want to kill me.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And that's how you do your advertisement. Lost previous party wants me dead. Can I join you, please?
You can definitely hop out of the party that wants to kill you into the party that will.
Yeah, that's right.
Woo!
And we can finish off Dudley's story, Dudley's prelude there.
Alrighty, sounds good.
So we've got there's Dudley, whose old adventuring guild boys club Boy Scouts clearly do not like him because he quote unquote blew them up. There's the drunken old man looking for his missing uncle that he thought was dead, that was supposed to be his trainer, and is trying to deal with the regret of having been a part of the order and possibly a part of the series of things that led to the apocalypse happening. We've got the dwarf who really doesn't understand humans all that well and is probably more confused after meeting his most recent one, who left his ex-fellow student that he has history with alone in a ditch and stole all of her information about his father that they both want to find. And Emery, who is trying to live up in the shadow of his heroic super brother, and is now hoping to find his missing kind-hearted sister, while evading the very order he serves in, that is also the same order that the drunken old swindly man is from. You are now a swindly old man, Gorbad.
I'm swindly. I feel very swindly. Hi there, I'm Gorbad, normally the resident dungeon master here on How We Roll, but for this particular campaign, I'm going to be taking a seat on the other side of the table to become a player. If you'd like to keep up with all things How We Roll, you can follow us on Twitter at How We Roll, check us out on Facebook at How We Roll, and you can also follow us on YouTube, and you've guessed it, at How We Roll. We also have a website, www.howweroll.com. Now, if you want to keep up with me personally, you can follow me on Twitter at Gorbad, and don't forget to check out my blog, www.thedmblog.com, for all things Dungeons & Dragons related, both for players and DMs alike. We will see you next time.
Sup, I'm Evil Squeegee, they, them, and as you can tell by now, Gorbad has made the mistake of letting me Dungeon Master a campaign on his channel. If you want to follow me on my channel, where I make the mistake of letting me Dungeon Master games on my channel, you can find that at twitch.tv/evil-squeegee. If you want to follow me on Twitter, at twitter.com/evil-squeegee, you can find inclusivity rants, gaming rants, rants about rants, and rants.
Is it on? It is. Greetings and well met, my friends. It is I, the great and powerful Thelonious Conch. My good friend the Snuggler has asked me so kindly to step in. If you want to keep up with what he's doing in the world, you can follow him at two places. The first is on Twitter at MattySweetTweet. And the second, of course, is Instagram, where you can follow him at MattyQuickPick. And I see what he did there. Clever boy. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and don't forget the lavender.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of How We Roll. My name's Jane, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jane on Twitch with a 0, not an O. I also do stream like 3 times a week now, so you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JaneIvana. What do you gotta say, Norman? Sorry. Peace, suckers.
Hey y'all, Shagget here. I play various characters on How We Roll. This is the first campaign where Gorbad is a player, and I very much would like to enact my player vengeance on him, since he's usually the DM and I can't do that really, because he'll just, wish it away and make it irrelevant. Follow me on Twitter at eneb_convos, and we can start a dialogue to find out the creative, awesome means that my character will get his character killed. Because isn't that what every player wants to do? I think so.
Hi, it's me, Satchmo. Claire, how we roll. You follow me.